Hey guys, what's going on? Hey, welcome back to Hobbies with Jose. It feels good to be back. You know, these past 2 weeks are pretty much exactly what I needed. But today, I am ready with what's going to be my smallest custom so far. And that, of course, is Studio Series Ravage based on the Bumblebee movie. Now, before we start with the actual customization process, let me throw out a quick review of the figure. I think it's great. Okay, let me expand on that a little bit. But first, we have to talk about the packaging. Now, this is the first time that Studio Series has had any core class figures in their line. And although they're not numbered like the rest, they do retain the same style and design. There's a fantastic shot of Ravage up on top, just too bad it's cut off a little bit by the hook. And of course the new plasticless window in the front with all the proper logos to go along with it. On one side we get a nice close-up shot of Ravage, also indicating that it's core class in multiple languages. And on the other side a reverse shot of Ravage with the authentic Autobot logo. And on the back we get some nice product shots of Ravage showing us both alt modes and letting us know that he transforms in 11 steps. And not much else other than the wall of text below that. Now, I don't typically show this in my reviews, but Core Class Ravage does come with a removable insert that's meant to be a display stand, although it's not as obvious as the other figures. But it does come included with a bunch of bullet holes, so that's pretty badass. Now onto the figure itself, and my god, Ravage looks fantastic! There is a level of sculpting here that is quite impressive considering it's a core class. And the paint, although it's minimal, it gets the job done. Especially these tiny Decepticon symbols on its front legs. Now unfortunately, because I don't have any stickers or decals that small, I'm going to have to paint around that. But that's just a small sacrifice to pay for such an astounding detail. This figure truly has jumped out of the movie screen and onto the palm of our hand. The look and feel of the character has just about been perfectly captured on this little guy. And he's got great articulation too. All four legs connect to a ball joint at the body, so they have some wiggle room in and out. And the two front legs have a hinge at the elbow and the wrist. The hind legs have the same joints, but they add an extra one for the heel too. There's a hinge at the tail as well. And a Ravage's head allowing for movement up or down. Sadly no side to side though. But also a great little hinge for the mouth too. That's fantastic. The missiles on his hind legs are of course adjustable and removable for the transformation too. And what I can only describe as a missile pod can also be removed for transformation. But there is one other accessory that comes included. You get this very G1 reminiscent looking piece which attaches onto Ravage's belly, and that just looks utterly ridiculous. The fact that it's lacking details like the rest of Ravage and that it's painted fully in silver makes it stick out like a sore thumb. Honestly, this should not have come included with Ravage. No, clearly this was meant for Soundwave as he does have a peg hole on the front of his shoulder cannon. Now I don't want to peg mine in all the way as to avoid scratching the shiny paint, but I do have other plans for it, so stay tuned. I don't know why Hasbro felt the need to include this piece with Ravage when it's clearly for Soundwave. Maybe it was to justify the price? But I'm sure there's fans out there that have Soundwave and not Ravage, and now they miss out on this iconic piece. That really sucks. But that's really the only critique that I can give to this figure as it's pretty near perfect. Well, one of the only critiques. Let's get to alt mode. And here we have Ravage in his cube mode, which, I'm gonna be honest, I'm surprised just how far he compacts himself into this form. He really likes sniffing his tail though. Now, am I upset that he's not the shape of a cassette? Absolutely not. Had we gotten a more traditional cassette shape, I don't think we would have gotten such a great looking Ravage. So yeah, I'm perfectly okay with this cube. Now you do have to get things perfectly lined up, especially in the paws, but once you do, Ravage fits perfectly into Soundwave's chest. Now I don't think I'll be inserting Ravage once fully painted just to avoid chipping the paint, but it is great to see Soundwave all in one piece now. Now it can be a little tricky in removing Ravage back out, but thankfully you can open up Soundwave's back to make this easier. So that's my quick review of Studio Series Ravage, a fantastic beast mode whose alt mode doesn't really amount to anything. Kind of like his master, right? But at least he gets the pivotal job done of fitting into Soundwave's chest, so there's that. Alright, but now, let's get to the good stuff. Alright, so first and foremost, I am definitely not planning on keeping the transformation at all. Especially considering that once he's fully painted, I don't plan on inserting him into Soundwave's chest and risk scratching up all of the paint, so that's completely out. So the only real thing I plan on doing is really just cutting off the tiny little pegs that he has on the sides here, as well as the pegs on his hind legs, and also filling in the little peg holes on the front legs too. Now I do want to try and do something with the front teeth since they're very nicely molded, and see if I can't carve out the excess plastic around the teeth just so they can be better defined, but it's so tiny that I'm not sure I'll be able to be successful with that, but we'll give it a shot. First things first though, let's start the disassembly process. Now, after removing the legs, I noticed this detail on the body. This actually looks like the part of a cassette, which I don't think that's an accident. That looks really cool. Now, everything else does have the white pins, so I'm going to leave those alone. And I don't think I'm going to try to remove the lower jaw piece since I don't want to really risk damaging it. So that one's going to stay in place. I'll be able to work around it though. Also, as I mentioned before, these Decepticon symbols are perfect, so I'm not going to be touching these at all. I'm still going to mask the white section just so I can put primer on the rest of the leg, but I'll be able to paint around it after that. But everything else, we are going to strip the paint. And we'll be using the same paint stripper we always use, which is 9 parts, 99% isopropyl alcohol, and 1 part lacquer thinner. Alright, let's give our pieces a good half hour to soak in here, then we'll check on them then. Here we are about 45 minutes later, and we are now going to pour our contents onto this old tupper and clean them off with an old toothbrush. So, other than our 2 front legs, we have all of our pieces stripped and cleaned up. I do need to let them dry for about a day, so next week we're going to start doing the modifications and start putting some primer onto our figure. Not to mention this piece, I'm going to work on it as well. I still have Soundwave's gun, and I'm going to see if we can't combine the two. So thank you all so much for watching. You can feel free to catch me on all the social medias, which I do have links for down below. And I'm still tearing through the Old West and Red Dead Redemption 2, not just on YouTube, but on Twitch as well. But I will see you all next week. Take care.